GTV's African Writers Series, and then there was Kofi Anidoho's African Heritage Series on GTV, and Fritz Balfour's Sincerely Yours. But I found African Heritage Series very deep. So I always mention it. It's one episode. He was with the late Ali Mazrui professor, and they were talking about a temple in Dahomey dedicated to a certain rainbow god or blah, blah, blah. What struck me was the voice. Dahomey, home of the serpent and the rainbow.
Oh.
And that was it. I just kept on going at it. And then I had Mistress Council class write a poem for me on books. The late Margaret Hinton, may God rest her soul, placed emphasis on not just writing, but delivering your work, public speaking. So that is how it started for me. And I just wanted to read literature. I just wanted to move at it. And then I wanted to meet that man. Let me mention his name while he's alive.
Go ahead,
that's our father, Professor Kofi Anido.
Yeah.
Trust me. I just told my mom, I'm like, Mommy, I want to meet this man. You know what I added before he dies? By God's grace, I got to meet him. So it started at a very tender age. But if you'd mark what flies through us, there was always a contact point. There was somebody, a mark to look up to aspire to. That is how it started for me in
There
1999.
have been other Ghanaian poets that we've known. Some we read their books, we read their poems back in school. They may not have had this kind of revolution in their days, although they did quite similar what you are doing today. How different is their time from yours?
I mean, I would argue that, I mean, the great poets of our time, there are Nidohos, there are Wonos, there are Tuko kinds, you know. I mean, we've gone from a stage where poetry was written and even in some respects performed. And Nana nearly hinted on this. Spoken word is an African thing indigenously, because our arts, our culture is really oral.
Yes.
So word performance have always been a part of our African tradition. It's just that when we talk about spoken word, we look at it in terms of the context of, as you talk about the Harlem Renaissance and the civil rights movement and the need for some kind of vibrant expression. But the whole idea of performance art is an inherently African tradition. So a lot of African writers over the years, you know, tapped into this kind of performance. The likes of Kofi Anidoho emphasized performances in his poetry. So for example, when he published, he had a collection, an audio collection of his poems. So the use of music and you know, just the idea of performance. So yes, these people had in their, and they are still reigning now, of course, and their works have been studied in academia, they are recognized globally. I think that what we, if you like, young people are now doing is to make it accessible to our generation and give it a popular appeal, because young people, when you talk about poetry, they think it's supposed to be
boring.
Some professors in their ivory tower, you know.
Abstract.
Yes. So what we are doing is that we are speaking a language. So this is something that is relevant to our time. They did something that was relevant to their time, and we're doing something that is
a generational.
Yes, but of course there are also young poets who are also writing and publishing their works so there are different ways of documentation.
I actually read a report in The Guardian that spoken word has an impact, greater impact on teenagers. Is it because of the subjects you're touching on? Because I mean, you talk about politics, but it's the way you're delivering it makes it interesting for people to say. So what is it a subject? Why are young people more interested in spoken words than, say, to pick the prose or the poetry then and read it?
I mean, one, it depends on what we are talking about. That we talk about stuff that they can, you know, relate to. Talk about politics, you know, football, love, and all that. We talk about, you know, stuff that you know they can relate to, and then now right, we add other stuff like the rhymes, you know, and all that, so they can actually listen to it and also, you know, bump their head to it. Yeah, so we've actually, you know, spiced it up. Not the old school that will come, okay, the frog is lying on the street, and they'll just stop. But now we go like, now the frog is walking on the street, and it's not going to greet. You know, so there's a rhyme to it. You know, so it like gets them.
Okay.
I think that crucially it's an outlet, especially for people who, you know, in terms of growth, you get to a stage where you feel the world is not listening to you, where you feel there are a lot of emotions that is bottled up within you that requires expression. So spoken word provides that outlet, that opportunity to actually crystallize your thoughts and deliver them and feel like you're expressing yourself. That's why it's very popular among teenagers. You know, when you get to that stage, it's an age of rebellion, where you are rebelling against a lot of things in society and in some ways against yourself. So it offers an outlet for people to express.
even before you ask that, I wanted to just on that very point.
Yes.
So, when you started and you made your presentation, you know, you picked up a certain voice in delivering that you wanted to meet that man and with a voice.
Yeah.
So, do you practice to have that, or is a script that comes with it? How do I get to the state where, you know, you deliver with a passion and enthusiasm to convince the audience?
Maybe the stint of revolution.
I was actually going to jump on the point they were talking about and then jump into this. You know, something is recurring. We always say there's nothing new under the sun.
Absolutely.
Just before the Black American movement had an influence on spoken word in an academic setting. This is how it started, just like she described. These Black American kids found poetry very boring, where you have to write poetry to rhyme in meter and stanza. So they were allowed to write it as the ideas came to them. And then when they had a peer review, they would put it into verse and apply all those rules of poetry. That expression eventually found its roots in rap, and then found its roots from this revolutionary movement, this renaissance. So that is how it is. So our art form is a way of outing your energy. Now, it's not what you say that matters. It's how you say it. That makes all the difference and the impact.
Okay.
And I always maintain this, we need to be unique. Our voices need to be unique. If I heard Mutombo any day, even if I was asleep, so deep, I'll know this is Mutombo. Yeah. I'll know this is Chief. But we've come to realize that a lot of people want to copy or be like. It might not be new, but you have to find something unique about it. You should have a unique marker and a unique way of communicating different kinds of emotion. Right. If you are flat, we might not get the various multitones in your
so you have to hold on. Spoken word artists, yes, they are here. Before the break, we're talking about, you know, the voices that go with the poetry. And Sasi makes the point that you've got to find your individual voice, because it's your script, it's your story, so you deliver the way you feel. Yeah, you can have inspiration and draw from them as well to motivate you, but there's no point in being somebody else. You can be the best version of yourself, right?
I mean, also, the voice also depends on what you are actually talking about. Yeah. So let's say when you're talking about love, you can't go harsh. When you're talking about wars, you have to go harsh. You know, so you know, it depends.
So it comes with its own art.
Yes. So you know, it depends. Yes.
I mean, I think at the end we're talking about two layers of voices here. There's the voice that is identical to you. Yeah. That's your style of presentation, and of course there's a voice that the manifestation of the voice you use in performance, which can take different tones and different variations. But I'm sure a lot of us here, we get a lot of young people who hit us up, oh, I want to do do this, and I think it's crucial. One of the first things I tell them is that try and discover your voice, because usually when people admire you, they try to do perform poetry like how you perform it.
But how about try and discover your talent? Make sure that what you're delivering
absolutely. First of all, whether you love with the because now there's an explosion, and it's good because there are a lot of young people. There are a lot of young people coming. It's good. Some will be good, some will be average, some will be struggling. But it's good that it's opening up. A lot of people are picking onto it. It's just important that people are able to really identify if this is their talent.
Martin, I'm looking at the business side of it, but
I want to know writing community.
I want to know if do you write everything, or sometimes people write and give them to you and you deliver them?
No, we write. You
don't do other people's poem because you can't feel what is in it or what
we don't have ghost writing.
I mean, someone if a company comes,
why is it bad? Why is it bad not to deliver someone else's line?
No, it's not bad. I can perform an assassin's poem. I can take Mutombo's. So I go like today I'm in the mood. I want to perform. If I love one of Mutombo's poems, I love it so much. I said let me do a Mutombo poem. But if I'm commissioned to do a poem for someone, or as Mutombo gets all his international gigs, today's in New York, tomorrow he's in Copenhagen, he's here and there.
Right.
Of course, he'll do his own.
Right. Just hang on there. We'll pick one. I believe Mutombo the poet. We'll pick his own, and then we'll come back. Chief Moment. Yeah. And then we'll come back. Oh, I love Chief
really
Moment.
Curious to see.
I want to see which one. Enjoy this one.
Do you hear the spirit of the people boiling? Do you hear the people say enough is enough? Do you hear the voice of a Garvey, of a Padma, of a Du Bois? Do you hear an Nkrumah on that fateful 57 night declaring to the world, at long last, the battle has ended and Ghana, your beloved country, is free forever? Do you hear how Africa took up that call? Do you hear the voice of a Tafawa Balewa, of a Patrice Lumumba, of a Julius Nyerere, of a Jomo Kenyatta? Do you hear thousands of voices marching upon Lincoln Memorial to hear a king speak of his dream? Do you hear Mandela screaming from his prison walls, Amangla? And do you hear the young South African girl singing, Ngosikelele Africa. Do you hear a Bob Marley calling for Africa unite? Do you hear a fella Anekpalakpo singing revolutionary chants into your heart? If you call a woman African woman, she no go gree. She go say,
Abi.
You know, like the only video I ever, like I showed like 3 videos when I was on campus. Someone came back then. This is about 5 or so years ago. So really? I didn't know. I'm planning to pull all of them up into some proper videos. You know. I know it is institutional memory. Yes.
What was the motivation behind this?
I mean, so for someone like me, I like stories about our continent, our people, and where we have come from. I'm a history buff. So if you look at a lot of my poems and a lot of things I do, they're actually historical narratives. So I tell stories about Ghana, about Africa. So this one I was just looking at us as a people and our interconnectedness and the sacrifices that people have made over the years, from our struggle to independence and our struggle for identification and identity and actualization. So I was looking at that history and that journey to inspire us, a new generation, to take over from where others have left and take our continent to greater heights.
Money.
Yeah, let's talk cash now.
Mutombo is the man. He's our senior brother.
This is the bank.
And it's here, so.
He's the health insurance support.
Let's start with you.
Oh,
Mutombo.
Chief Moment gets international gigs. All of them.
Yeah, so before we ask about how lucrative the industry is and all of that, here is one from Mutombo.
Yes,
the
they have
boss player.
The boss.
What is about to show? Boy from the dark continent. And that brings me joy, great amusement. Because I now bear the skin of my ancestors who still got their freedom in the midst of those cruel oppressors. They brought me up in the African way. I was given African principles, some things I should never say. And I'm still following taboos even as an adult. Because I can't do away with them. Don't blame me, it's not my fault. It's because I'm just another black boy. I was taught to use the right hand in all my endeavors. Shake hands, also use it when I'm taking favors. Use the right to throw punches during a fight, and also use it when I'm eating a diet. In my home, the right is a sign of respect and expressed through the society like how chicken pox affect. So don't think I'm lame when I don't use my left. It's because I'm just another black boy.
He says right to throw punches. And that's exactly what you guys do with your pen. You throw punches, you get people to think and talk without having to throw punches, but you do it with your pen.
That's Mutombo of old and Mutombo of
the money bit.
Several years later.
How do you make money? Where do you get to perform?
When I started seriously in 2005, 2004, I would get gigs like the Miss Legons and all that. Oh. But they wouldn't give me money. Sure. Because, spoken word then it wasn't so common and they were still trying to get it. And you would see, I would do my thing and everybody will be applauding and all that. But I will still go home, there with no cash, and you find some hip life guy on and Charlie taking big one. Now it is getting better. Okay. For instance, let me let this out. I had a show last week, and they paid well.
Yo,
okay. If you get those kind of corporate gigs, it's very, very good. Okay. But you don't get it every time.
Regularly.
Yeah.
Okay. And Chief Moment, he has a production company. He opens a lot of the conferences that they organize in this country.
Oh, not this guy.
Not
a lot.
But
programs.
Unfortunately, we don't have time.
One of Sarkodie's songs goes like, "Bill is for frame. I'm gonna say 500 mil." Half a million. Yeah. Oh yeah, but the first time I got paid for a poetry performance, I think I got like 100 CDs or so, and that was like after even 3 or almost 4 years of performance, because I started performance in level 100. My first gig that someone gave me money for was in level 400, and it was like 100 CDs, but it was cool because we were really doing it for the passion. When we started, it wasn't like something that we thought we could monetize. Sure. But these days, as Mutombo says, when you get a
just by wrapping up, what would you say the future of poetry and spoken word?
The future of poetry and spoken word. Honestly, I wish we had more time.
We will bring them back in the studio.
We could talk
we'll
about
the
future.
We'll
The future.
We'll bring you guys back. Maybe my producer should arrange so we can
surprised
bring them
us
back
with
next
those
week.
videos.
Right? We'll bring them back say next week, and then so we can continue because there's a lot we need to talk about, in terms of, like you said, monetizing it. Yes, but how many of them are really making money out of it, and how do we shape it to really reflect Ghana, because they talk about Ghana a lot, and you should listen to them when they talk.